Welcome to the Fitz and Simmons Castaway Hour.
Yay!
This is your host Ben, and with me as usual are Dave and John.
Yo.
Hey.
So, where to begin with tonight's episode? So, I guess we'll start at the beginning, which harkened back way further back in time than usual. So we got to see Ward's origins this evening.
Back when he was a completely different person.
Right. He didn't look anything like himself. So, it's funny.
He looked like a kid.
We were watching this, and I don't think my son pays that close attention to the details anyways in the show. He just watches for the action. And when they got to the later section, the 10 years ago section of the Ward flashback, and he asked at one point, he's like, how are they in two different places at the same time? It's like, it's not the same time.
Just tell him that the doctor is somewhere nearby.
Right.
There's a TARDIS involved.
Right. So I explained to him, that was 10 years ago. What's happening on the plane is now. So that's how flashbacks work. Your sister even said out loud, 10 years ago, when it came up on the screen. So
I have a new theory, by the way.
do you now?
Yes, that Garrett is the Emperor and Ward is Vader.
I think you're getting your mythos mixed up here a little bit.
No. See, we just celebrated Star Wars Day. I figured it fit perfect.
May the Fourth be with you. It's an interesting theory. I don't think Garrett's face is wrinkled enough yet to pull off that look. They did do a decent job with the age shifting for him, I think, in this episode. He did look younger in the 15 and 10 years ago segments.
Yes.
That was clever makeup work on their part. And as we already noted, Ward looked like a completely different person as a kid. So you could barely tell it was him. So that 5 years really made a big impact.
Yes, it did.
So we got that backstory. We got the agents of nothing sort of still reeling and getting their bearings. And we got a further harken back with Triplet being a child of the Howling Commandos and some of the leftover spy gear he has in his arsenal.
I was hoping he had like a spare Tyne from Wolverine, because wasn't he with the Howling Commandos at one point or another?
I don't think that they're sticking to that canon for this particular version of the Howling Commandos.
Just one of his clones.
So, and along the lines of the Howling Commandos, I wonder if they showed off some of those gadgets, and there has been some talk that maybe they'll spin off the Agent Carter series. Wonder if we would see some of those in action in said show. Maybe.
I would hope, if they do it. I mean,
yes.
It's kind of like, here's a really cool gadget, but you'll never see it again.
Yeah. Although arguably, they came into convenient play in the episode. They found a use for almost every single thing they showed, with exception to the big hairdryer hypno-gun thing.
Oh, they've got to use that at some point.
Yeah.
Right. They haven't used it yet.
Right. This is only the penultimate episode of the season, not the final episode of the season. So there is still a chance that they will dig deeper into that suitcase and play with some more toys. But, they used the laser thing and they used the EMP, which arguably I would say in the 40s is less effective of a tool. There was fewer things that were electrically based.
And also because I've heard that things that use vacuum tubes aren't affected by EMPs.
No, they aren't.
So more things would have been using vacuum tubes in the 40s. So it doesn't really make sense.
Unless it was strong enough to overload the wires and burn them, which it probably wasn't.
Right. But it could a sonic screwdriver.
So. Yeah. Any Deus Machina could do that, really.
Yes. So.
There was also the quarter radio which
Right, which didn't really get used. I suspect we'll see that get used in the next episode. And
I
the way I see
I
that
suspect
happening,
it was used and they don't realize it yet.
maybe. Well, first of all, I suspect that setting off the EMP might have at least temporarily shorted it out. So it may not have been all that useful at that point in time. However, I think that they may be able to use it to salvage Fitz and Ward or Fitz and Simmons from their perilous 30-foot fall into water.
At speed.
It seems like they were
That's
not
not
going very fast.
to keep that jet up. Come on, they had to have been
It's
doing at least 300.
it's like a Harrier. The thing has got vertical, takeoff. I don't think it. I don't. It didn't look like it was moving very quickly.
Mm.
And didn't you see the giant vacuum tube sticking out of the quarter? Come on.
Very
Oh,
tiny
boy.
vacuum tubes
Oh.
nested inside of it. So I don't think we've seen the last of Fitz and Simmons. I think that they're adrift, but I think they'll have survived.
Oh, they're gonna wind up on an island together.
Mm. Fitz will
Spin-off.
get his wish. You get a box with one thing in it.
Yep. Oh, wouldn't that be?
And then they'll have a little kid, and then when the bus comes to pick them up, the little kid will point at the sky and go, the plane. But anyway.
I was actually thinking of them starting to make a lot of stuff out of coconuts. If the professor can do it, then.
Those aren't coconuts. No. So anyway, but yeah, there was a lot of interesting development in this episode. Besides just the expositional backstory, we learned a little bit more about Sky's mysterious background through a conversation between Flowers and Ward.
Okay, well, you guys are nerds, so what monsters had a human child? There's got to be some canon there that you guys know. I can't think of it.
If there's canon behind it, I'm not aware of it. I'm sure the nerdverse will explode in the morning over what this meant and what secret character Sky is going to somehow end up being as a result of this. I suspect that she has some secret Kree origin, and that her parents were Kree aliens who were there.
I guess they said monsters, but they didn't say like demon monsters or Roman monsters, so it could have been.
I actually did a quick search on Marvel Monster China, and of course the only thing that came up was Fing Fang Foom.
Yes.
No, I don't think
so. She is the daughter of Fing Fang Foom. That'll tie in well with the Iron Fist TV show they're going to start up on Netflix.
That would be just as good as her. That would be just as good as being the Dark Phoenix. I mean, basically this same amount of destruction capability.
Right.
Well, and the thing is, Flowers, because I can't remember the character's name.
Her name's Raina.
Raina. Yeah, she also mentioned that her and Sky had something in common.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Come on, guys, you're failing. You guys know this stuff. You know the Marvel verse more than
I think I've successfully overinflated my knowledge of these things over our time together, John.
Well, and they've definitely proven that they're not strict adhering to canon anyway in this show. It's close, but it's
they're drawing from things, but they're reinventing things at the same time.
Right.
So she doesn't necessarily have to have an origin that fits with any existing canon.
Right. Yes, and Garrett is a Deathlock. That was an interesting twist.
Deathlock. Is that what we're calling him now?
He's beta. He's still in beta.
Yeah, he's Deathlock beta.
Where's the alpha? Now he's the alpha. And Mike is the beta. So when are we going to get the production line? I want to see what the full-fledged version looks like.
Well, we did get Deathlock Prime, I guess you could call him. We did get the actual Deathlock starting to question what's going on, and I'm wondering if his computer systems are tied in with the other Hydra computer systems, and so when Sky's virus takes effect...
Maybe. That'll be interesting to see.
Hmm.
Assuming they find a computer to plug it into, because currently they're sort of cornered and not in a great state. Or country, for that matter.
Right, right.
So, we'll see what comes of that. What other interesting plot points were there? So we had... excuse me. So we had that exposition that she may be some sort of whatever child of monsters. We found that Garrett obviously was Deathlock Prime with his Uber kidney. And I did like. I will say, speaking of like when they were finding the Deathlock files, I really enjoyed the joke with the large file download.
Yes, get ready for a large file download. How big?
Did you catch the names that were on the other files he was looking at before she called him over to look at the others?
I did not.
See, I was hoping one of you did, because...
Oh, well, why'd you bring it up if you didn't have something to share there?
Because I am so paranoid. There's so many inside jokes. I am so paranoid. I feel like we should do this podcast like 3 days from now, so I have time to go through frame by frame and figure out all of it. There's just so many.
If only we had some sort of other podcast-ish type environment to do deeper exposition in these types of matters. Dave, you have any ideas on that?
Yeah, you got to get on that.
Yeah, I have a couple.
Some sort of superhero conversational forum that we could leverage to
maybe like a long weekly episode.
Yeah.
I guarantee tomorrow that'll be all over the internet too if there were name drops in those files.
Yeah.
At this point, it could just be numbers, like for like the universes of different that or origins for different heroes or villains or whatever.
Yeah. Could be.
That was an interesting twist that they didn't have the data on computer, that it was all.
Well, I think that's smart on their part to not have systems in that particular building that could be hacked into. Because especially if it's someplace where they're potentially bringing in people for interviews, that's smart on their part to be that secure as to not have that sort of equipment on site that could be gotten to or hacked into, and to not have any of their data in a digital format.
It must really slow down their development, though.
Well, we could ask the VA how their stuff works.
Oh, God, true. Yeah. Huh.
So.
Yes. And speaking of the people coming in for an interview, I loved Coulson and May playing Fitz and Ward. That was that was brilliant.
That was pretty funny, especially given the exposition at the other end and them arguing with each other.
And the looks on Fitz and Simmons' faces as they're hearing through the comm that, oh yeah, no, we made this better. This is old. This is it. It's like, that's our best work.
We made this thing called the sleep gun, and made it in grenade form.
Sleep. Oh.
Yes, and then I liked when they get onto the records floor, and of course, as in all action TV shows, May does a flip to kick the guy.
Because that's the fastest way to traverse a hallway.
Yes, instead of just running. But before that, I like when they knock the guy out on the elevator, and then they don't show it. I love those kinds of scenes. You just hear the noise, and then they're pulling him off the elevator, and he goes, Does your sweater itch? Yeah, a little bit.
Yes.
Well, that's right up there with when Trip shot the line up for them to ride down. It hit one of those drop ceiling tiles.
I thought the same thing. That's not going to hold on to anything.
It's like, when's the last time you saw one of those things handle anything more than a small pebble? I mean,
right. They are not built to hold any sort of weight. Not only that, the tiles themselves obviously are practically styrofoam. And then the support beams that hold those things up, are held up by essentially stretched out paper clips. It's not sturdy.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's nitpicking, but
Yeah.
it could just be a
No,
little...
you're right. They could definitely have done. They could have. All it had to do is stick in the wall, and it would have, near the ceiling, and that would have been a little bit more believable. But
Or they
yeah.
just didn't really have to show where the thing went in. Just
But they
then
did.
shot the.
But they did. They
did.
made a
Otherwise,
point
we
to show it, and they showed it sticking into something that we all know can't hold the weight
Wouldn't hold anything.
of even a small child. Nonetheless, two full-grown adults.
Yes, in sweaters and glasses.
Yes, those heavy sweaters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Deep breath.
So did we get any questions answered in this episode? Besides, I guess we did. We got Ward's origin answered a little bit better.
And he's evil.
We got more of Garrett's backstory filled in. Well, yes, he's clearly working on the side of evil. He's not a double agent. We clarified all that stuff.
He killed Old Yeller.
Or triple agent. Well, did he though? Because they sort of went. They shot into the air, and you saw the dog run off. But then you did see him sighting him up.
Yeah.
Afterward, you didn't hear him shoot a shot at him though.
Well, it's Disney. They're not going to do that.
I guess so.
It's Old Yeller.
But that's a Disney movie.
You're talking about the company that killed Bambi's mother.
And they killed Old Yeller.
Yeah, so come on.
Yes, that was a time
to kill animals.
So the makers of Old Yeller aren't going to pull an Old Yeller?
That was the time before real censors. Now we're all politically correct, and they wouldn't want PETA coming down on their asses.
I still think they're trying to play the maybe Ward isn't as evil card.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would have. I would be on board with you, John, in believing that he shot him, maybe he didn't. I would be confident if they didn't have to show him show the dog falling or anything like that, but at least have
the sound of the
switch back to him, pulling the trigger and hearing the gunshot.
Him
looking through the reticle and hearing the shot go off. Same way they did with the deer. If they had that at least gives you this firm, cemented knowledge that he killed the dog.
That's right, because they did the sound effect of the gunshot with the deer, so it would have been the same thing.
Right.
And yet
he's taken the same scene and just cut Garrett out of it.
And yet he still dumped Fitz and Simmons into the sea at speed. So.
Right. He didn't shoot them.
Right.
Come on.
He gave them a fighting chance.
Yeah, fighting chance.
So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't think they're gone. I think they're going to be fine. Maybe a bit beat up, and maybe landed on a desert island somewhere, a la Castaway.
I mean, heck, we don't know if that room that ejects off and turns into a boat.
Oh, God.
With the shield plane.
In the least, it probably would float. It's probably airtight. And it could well be a food storage unit, in which case they'll be fine for a while.
Wasn't that the cell that that Sky recuperated in?
No, that wasn't a cell. That was just basically a storage bay for stuff.
Yeah, they have the modular storage bays that fit into the side of the ship. One of them was the medic unit that Sky was in. So
maybe, perhaps, if you say so, Mr. O'Grady. No deserved details.
I'm picky. And OCD, but
there is no saving, Mister. There is no saving grace for Ward.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, because I don't like him. I like Trip. Trip needs to take his place. Triplet is cool.
Triplet is cool. I'll give you that. He can work on his character a little bit. I think that he's a bit flat right now. I could stand to see him
flatter than Ward.
Yes, right now he is. He's as flat as Ward was when he was undercover, and I'd like to see him be less flat. And because right now it's easy to make the suspicion is he even trustworthy because he's so flat. So, could that be a cover, and could he be yet another mole?
Yeah, because that's what Ward was. Ward was flat until we found out he was evil.
Right.
So it puts you in the same boat. Yeah.
And honestly, if you look back, a lot of things that I called question to over the course of the season, and stupid things that he did, fit with him being
evil.
evil. Well, being an agent of Hydra, like why he didn't take out, what's her name, the Asgardian
Lorelai.
girl, Lorelai. It fits now because like he's not really loyal to the mission. He's doing what he has to get away with things, and it was advantageous for him to let himself succumb to that, to figure out what her deal was and see if it could be usable for his side mission. So
He's a psycho.
he's calculated and cold.
I'm sorry, I just don't see Trip being as flat as you guys seem to think he is. He's already shown more personality in an episode than Ward did the first 8 episodes.
I'm not saying that he's. All I'm saying is, he was introduced late in the season. He's only been around for a couple episodes. I just don't think they've had time. He's a character that I could see them putting more backstory and more personality into next season, assuming there is a next season, and assuming he's still alive.
There is a next season. Don't you dare say anything like that.
I have to say it.
Until
we know for sure.
The other thing I found interesting in the episode is that they explained both Garrett and Ward's motivations. Not just Ward's, Garrett's, where it was like, he had a true reason for hating.
For hating S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hating S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And teamed up with HYDRA. I mean, the description of shoving his guts back in and duct taping himself together to get out of wherever he was.
Yeah.
Was like, okay, I can understand why you're ticked. And then he had a motivation to extend his life. That's why all that stuff was important to him.
But here's the thing, though. The very thing he was upset about, his realization or his come to Jesus moment there of like why S.H.I.E.L.D. is no good and he had to ally himself with other forces, is, first of all, is the shitty way he was treating Ward for that whole time.
Right.
So, hypocrite. Second of all, no one goes into S.H.I.E.L.D. not knowing that. It's a government organization that you were a tool of. That's how the military works. You go in there as a number. You go in there as you're a soldier. You're going in there not for your benefit or your glory. You're going in there as a potentially expendable member of this larger force.
Right.
Every person who goes into the military gets that literally beaten into them.
No. I understand that. I'm just saying, but it gave him motivation, and it's funny because it makes Garrett's motivation stronger, I think, more personal, and Ward's was kind of like he was in a bad situation, and Garrett took him under his knee, so it's more I'm loyal to Garrett, less I'm loyal to HYDRA.
Yeah.
So
it's funny though because I just sort of had previously got the impression that Ward's allegiance to Garrett was sort of a paternal relationship, that there was sort of a father figure thing going on there, and nothing that Garrett did in the backstory, drew him as a very good father figure. Per se.
Well, no one ever said all father figures are good.
That's true. It's like, here's your first test. I'm going to leave you here for 6 months. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Don't die.
Didn't your father do that to you? Or was it just me?
He only left me for 3, so.
Oh, okay.
And he brought me Twinkies when he showed up.
Yeah, you guys are lucky to have fathers, because in my day, I'll tell you, we had to just deal without them.
Right. If he said that bag was filled with tacos, it would be filled with tacos. So.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, I think we've covered all the salient points to this one.
Yes.
So let's sum up. So Dave, what do you think? Give it an assessment.
It was a good episode. A lot of laughs. A lot of good backstory filled in. I don't like the cliffhanger with Fitz and Simmons, but that stuff's going to happen in a show like this from time to time. So they're teeing up a lot of stuff. I don't know where the season finale is going to end. And again, I like to say that they are playing the is Ward evil or isn't he card still? So I'm curious where he's going to end up at the end of the season. So I'm real excited for next week. This episode got me more excited for next week. So I'm going to give it a solid 8. So.
Okay. John?
I'll give it an 8 too, because Ward is evil.
So you feel justified now?
Yes.
Do you feel that you're satisfied that you were right?
I feel much better now because now he has less of a chance of having as much screen time. Also because Fitz is I like Dave said, shows like this you're gonna have cliffhangers where like, oh, did they get hurt? Are they dead? Well, we know Fitz and Simmons aren't going to die, and unless they pull a Joss Whedon, which there's actually a rather high percentage on this show because
spoiler
of Joss Whedon
involved.
But I don't think I think if they did take out Fitz and Simmons, I think there'd be pitchforks and torches. So I hope they don't overuse that trope.
No. I agree with you. It's a bit early for this show to be taking out characters that they've spent a lot of time establishing and characters that have found vital roles. Like I could see a situation where one of them doesn't make it through, but to have both of them end up dying in one fell swoop like that, that's a huge hit to the team and to the show's stability.
Yeah. Well, in that case, though, it better be Simmons that makes it through, because
I understand your selfish reasons, John. Let me propose this to you, John. Here's a twist. What if the next week things go to shit with crap with all of Garrett's dealings and everyone gets turned against him. Simmons ends up like they do land on an island, but Simmons is too mortally wounded to carry on, and Fitz basically has to nurse her through her last moments and profess his love. And then
they pull out the Deus Ex Machina.
No, I'm saying the ultimate outcome is that once they get back together, Raina's had a change of heart and ends up joining up with the team and takes that role.
After everything she did, there are limits on what you can forgive.
In theory.
Yeah, true. But all right, so to continue to finish up, I'm going to stay with 8 because it's a good setup for what's about to happen, which I'm very excited about because you got that one little flash of who.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that next week. Cool.
Who's that?
Mr. Fury, coming back from the dead. Anyway, so I'll agree with you on most of those points. I will say that just to belabor the point I was making before, it is not uncommon in Joss Whedon adjacent shows for enemies to become friends.
But there's got to be a good reason for it.
Right. Example: Spike in Buffy and Angel.
Yeah, but he gained a soul, so that automatically made it easy.
He gained a soul long after he made the choice to start going that direction.
What are you laughing?
He chose the path of good first. The soul came later.
I don't think he didn't exactly choose good as he did choose not to get his ass kicked by Buffy.
He chose to help Buffy. He was helping Buffy for a whole season before he decided to go seek out a way to get his soul back. Anyway, tangent a bit here. So I'm going to give it my wrap up. I definitely agree with everything you guys said. I think it was a solid episode. We had a lot of good exposition, a lot of good information come out of it. Definitely set the stage for our season finale next week, leaving a suspenseful cliffhanger ending that we want to see what happens next. I'm gonna only give it a 7 though, and my reason for the point demerit or the cape demerit is the one thing they left hanging from last week that they didn't bring up and didn't follow through on at all was the moment at the end.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Coulson exposition of his backstory. I wanted to see something come from that. Like, it wasn't enough just to see that now this is what happened and this is what he knows. I kind of want to know how he feels about it, besides just that closer that we had.
Of course,
That's
he's
a
a little
good point.
busy right now, so.
I mean,
that's a fair point. But they made an aside for May and Sky to have a little, rage foo conversation, hate foo. They could spare 10 seconds for May and Coulson to have a little, tete-a-tete about that whole piece of information.
I have the feeling that when he does have that, it's going to involve a bottle of Jack.
Yeah, it could be the denouement to next week's episode.
Yeah.
It was actually, it's funny that you say it. It was in essence, a very Coulson-light episode. I mean,
other than him,
yes, he broke into the
fits.
Right. I mean, he broke into the facility, yes, but like other than that, he said what the plan was at the beginning, and he ordered pizza.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did Coulson-like things. He geeked out over the stuff from Triplet's Suitcase of Fun. Right. He did the things that Coulson does. He led the team, he led the charge, and he focused on the work at hand. So it's what I expect him to do. But there were moments of downtime amongst that when they were waiting for things to happen that they could have fit some level of expositional something into it. So, I'm just giving a point off for that. Just one cape. I think hopefully they'll follow through on that next week.
Okay.
But that's it. So thank you all of our viewers out there in the ether of the second to last episode of Agents of Speak for this season. Hopefully you'll join us again next week as we watch in awe at however they, the bangtastic conclusion to this story, and us just literally sitting and drooling for half an hour next week over all of the awesomeness that we just saw.
It's not a 2-hour one, is it? It's just an hour?
As far as I know, it's only an hour.
Okay. Damn it.
So, though they may well go and do what they did a couple weeks ago and re-air this week's and then show the new episode at 9 or something like that. I'm not saying that they're going to. I'm just throwing that out there as a monkey wrench. I'll have to check the schedule and see to confirm. But anyway, we'll be around, and
we'll be hailing. We'll be hailing HYDRA.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Until next time, don't get your HYDRA cloak caught in the door. Good night, everybody.
Good night.